opposed to having Syrian refugees come to Massachusetts, but you can't.
Without more information
But you
from the
can't leave
federal
them
government.
alone. So what are you going to do to?
Well, states are,
I mean, the country has committed to accepting 10,000 refugees, so you can't keep them out of Massachusetts, right?
you know, Senator Markey yesterday and Congressman McGovern, as well as several senior members of the FBI, all said that the vetting process associated with refugee resettlement, especially as it relates to Syria, probably needs a once-over. And that's what I'm looking for. And we reached out yesterday to the State Department. I'm hoping that folks on my team in the course of the next few days will be able to start a discussion with them, because for me, I get the fact that I believe in that Massachusetts has been an active and an engaged and cooperative participant with the State Department and its refugee resettlement programs for years, okay? That's part of who we are and what we're about. But Syria is a very complicated place, and what I'm looking for is some guidance from the feds about how they plan to incorporate that into the decision-making process that they pursue, so that the Commonwealth has some idea about how this is going to work, because in the end, the safety and security of the people of Massachusetts is my highest priority.
Now, why not the same level of concern for perhaps refugees who come from Iraq, where ISIS started, or Afghanistan?
Yeah, part of that's because of the complete breakdown of the government and governmental infrastructure in Syria. Syria specifically has come up in several conversations involving senior national security officials who've said there are a lot of gaps in data and a lot of gaps in information. You add to that the fact that there are now at least 2 people who had a Syrian passport, one of whom was one of the bombers in that horrible tragedy in Paris, and another of whom was picked up yesterday in Serbia, both with the same passport, Syrian passport, same name, same data, same information, 2 different pictures, and the Serbians believe in both cases that those are fake. It just raises some questions and some concerns, and I'd like some answers, and I don't think that's unreasonable.
So should the federal government, contact your office and say, we do want.
Well, we're reaching out to them, and we want to talk to them. That's where we're going first.
Would you deny them assistance right now, or?
I would just like to have a conversation. Let's start with that.
Governor, I think the answer may be implicit in what you just said to Sharman, but yesterday it sounded in that exchange that you and Mayor Walsh were engaged in on this topic, like you were pushed by some artfully aggressive questioning into saying that for now you'd like to see a ban. And that got you lumped in with a bunch of primarily Republican governors around the country who said things like, Governor Christie saying that even a 3-year-old orphan wouldn't be suitable for resettlement. Can you just clarify, Mayor Walsh sort of walked back his comments yesterday. Where do you stand on the ban? I guess the use of
I'm not going to walk back anything I said yesterday. I can't help it if somebody chose to use a phrase instead of a sentence with the way they chose to report what I actually said. I get asked several times, does this mean you want a ban? And I said no. What I want is information. But until I have that information, I want to look out for the safety and security of the people of the Commonwealth of Mass. And I think it's incumbent on the federal government, given some of the issues that have been raised in Paris and some of the issues, frankly, that have been raised by members of the federal government themselves, that some of these questions, especially for states like ours, which have a long and storied history of being collaborators on refugee resettlement, that they should be willing to answer those questions.
Governor, what do you make of the fact that the vast majority of the governors who come out and talk are Republicans? There's obviously many exceptions. There is a political, bent on this.
You mean like Governor Maggie Hassan in New Hampshire?
Well, I said she's maybe one of the few.
Well,
Democrat.
I found Senator Markey's comments also particularly interesting in this. He's been in and around Washington and Washington politics and state policy around a lot of these issues for a long time. And he specifically raised the issue around vetting and what I would describe as, I guess, information generally as sort of a fundamental concern of his. Me too. Let's have that conversation. Yeah.
compassionate in light of circumstances?
First of all, I doubt that Congressman Moulton actually heard my whole statement, because if he did, I can't believe that's what he would have said. And secondly, I think it's unfortunate that a serious guy like that went straight to the partisan talking points with respect to how he responded on that, instead of engaging in the serious conversation that I believe we should all be having about if the United States chooses to increase by 5 times the number of, in 1 year, the number of people who come here on a refugee resettlement program from Syria, a very broken country in many respects with its ability to supply and support information. 3 days after we find out that one of the bombers did in fact use a Syrian passport and traveled through several refugee camps on his way to France, I don't think it's unreasonable to try to have a serious conversation about how we make sure everybody is safe and secure on this.
So when you hear
Last question,
criticism,
everyone.
when you hear criticism that this is a knee-jerk reaction, or
Yeah.
that you're being, you're somehow lacking in compassion, what do you say to that?
It's not a knee-jerk reaction. And when we were talking about a crisis along the southern border associated with a group of kids who were being exploited and abused coming to the United States from Central America, I said that I'd be willing to hear the feds out on that one. And in September, when I got asked about how I felt about the idea of Syrian refugees coming to Massachusetts, at that point, there are Syrian refugees here in Massachusetts, okay? And I said I'd be willing to talk to the federal government about that as well, okay? I don't believe that this right-thinking people in this situation can be perfectly compassionate and have questions. I have questions. I would just like some of them answered. And I don't think that's unreasonable, and I don't think it lacks compassion.